It was a cold, silent autumn night, the kind where the world feels like it's holding its breath. I was driving back from a long business trip that had taken me far off the grid, into deep, remote mountain territory, where phone signals vanish and the maps forget to mark entire villages. My route home took me through an abandoned region I had never driven before, and honestly, wouldn't have chosen unless it shaved a few hours off my return. The road twisted through an ancient forest, one of those roads that looks like it's been forgotten by time. The asphalt was cracked and crumbling, with moss growing through the splits and the edges eroded into soft dirt and exposed tree roots. Massive oaks and pines loomed on either side, their limbs stretching overhead like they were trying to block out the stars. My dashboard clock said 1:52 a.m. I hadn't seen another car in over an hour. No houses, no streetlights. Just the road, the forest, and the soft hum of my engine as I moved slowly forward. Headlights piercing maybe 20 or 30 feet ahead before the darkness swallowed everything else. Clouds had rolled in around midnight, burying the moon and stars. Now, all I had was the dim glow of my lights and my growing unease. The mist didn't help. Low fog crept across the road in thick waves, sometimes vanishing, sometimes curling up from the trees like something alive. I was tired, my eyes stinging, hands loose on the wheel, when something broke the monotony. Something lying on the side of the road. At first, I thought it was just a bag of trash, a deer, maybe. But no, my headlights caught it directly as I rounded a curve. It was a person, a body. It was lying on its side, just inches from the pavement, like it had been dropped there carelessly. Instinct took over. I slammed the brakes. Tires screamed. The car skidded to a stop about 30 feet past the figure. My pulse rode in my ears as I sat frozen for a second, processing. Then I opened the door and stepped out into the cold. The forest smelled wet, earthy, and somehow metallic, like rust or blood. My breath misted in the air. I walked slowly, carefully, toward the body, my shoes crunching on gravel and damp leaves. Every step closer made my skin crawl. It was a young woman, pale, thin, maybe 20 at most. Her clothes were torn and soaked. Her hair was long, tangled with leaves, and her face was scratched, smudged with dirt. She wasn't moving. I crouched beside her and reached out. "Hey, can you hear me? Are you okay?" Her eyes flickered. Her lips trembled. And then, barely more than a breath, I heard her speak. "Leave. He'll kill you." I flinched. "What? Who? Who did this to you?" She didn't answer. Her eyes rolled back for a moment, and her body went limp again. I stood up, heart hammering, reaching for my phone. No service, of course. I turned in every direction, looking into the trees, trying to see if someone was watching. I thought maybe whoever hurt her was still nearby. Maybe I was being watched right now. And then I heard it. A sound I'll never forget. It came from deep in the woods, far away at first, but growing louder, like a freight train barreling through the forest. Footsteps. Not human footsteps. These were heavy, colossal. Each one came with a dull, bone-vibrating thud, as though the earth itself recoiled from each impact. And then the scream. Not hers, not human. It started as a low guttural roar, but twisted mid-sound into a shrill, distorted shriek, like something part animal, part nightmare. It echoed off the trees, off the hills, and into my spine. The girl's eyes snapped open again, this time wide. I looked. "Run," she whispered. "He thinks I'm dead. He won't touch me. But you? That's all I needed." I bolted for my car, stumbled once, got in, slammed the door, and peeled out so fast the tires screeched again. I didn't look back. Not at first. But I could hear it. It wasn't just footsteps now. It was trees breaking, massive limbs crashing. Something massive, impossibly fast, was moving through the forest just off the road, parallel to me. Keeping up. I floored it, 60, 80, 100. I took blind curves too fast. I didn't care. And then, maybe 300 meters down the road, I looked in the rearview mirror, and I saw it. Standing in the road where I'd just been, perfectly still. A creature, towering, at least 4 meters tall. Humanoid only in shape. Covered in dark, slick fur or maybe month-soaked hair. Its arms hung low, freakishly low, like they could drag across the ground. Its shoulders were broad, its head too small, with glowing eyes that burned in the dark. It was looking straight at me. No, not at me, into me. In that moment, time stopped. I felt something in my chest, a pressure. Like my soul had been yanked into its gaze, like it was memorizing me, branding me with its attention. Then it was gone. Not in a blur, not running, just gone. I didn't stop driving until I reached the edge of civilization. Streetlights, a gas station, other people. The next morning, I called the local authorities and gave them the location. Described the girl, what I saw, what I heard. A few hours later, they called me back. There's nothing there, the man on the phone said. No woman, no tracks, no body. But the area looks like a storm hit it. Trees snapped, ground torn up. It's not normal. I didn't believe it. So I drove back. I wish I hadn't. The spot where she'd been was shredded. The road, cracked, like something had slammed into it over and over. Several trees were torn out of the earth completely. Others were sliced. Yes, sliced. Clean through halfway up the trunk, like with some massive blade. And carved into one of those trees, deep and messy, were 2 words. He watches. Since that night, I've avoided that road like a curse. I take longer routes. I don't drive through forested areas after dark. But the thing is, he's not gone. I've been researching, reading forums, digging through old local legends, and I keep seeing mentions of something ancient, something some call the Watcher, a spirit, a guardian, a punishment. He doesn't come after everyone, only the ones who cross a certain line. And if you hear him, it's already too late. They say if you see his eyes, he never forgets you. That once he marks you, he can find you, anywhere. Now and then, in the early hours of the morning, I swear I hear faint thuds outside my window. I've found scratches on my car, long, even, clean. Sometimes, I wake up with the feeling someone was just watching me, and left the second I opened my eyes. I don't know who that girl was, but I know she wasn't supposed to survive. And somehow, I think she saved me by taking my place.